On May 24th, 3 years ago, a campfire blew up along the U.S. Mexico border in Hidalgo County. It was burning on the Diamond A Ranch, private land in the rugged Animas Mountains. For more than 2 decades, people had let fires burn there, but in 2021, the strategy was for full suppression. More than 2 seasons had passed without monsoon rains. It was hot and it was windy. With the closest engine 7 hours away, smokejumpers were ordered to the fire, even though one captain warned, "We don't jump the boot heel. It's a pile of rocks and there are weird winds coming off the Animas Mountains. We had a bad experience last time we jumped this." So New Mexico's boot heel doesn't have many roads. Security is an issue and communication is spotty for cell phones and emergency radios. And even en route to the fire, crews couldn't use their satellite phones because they didn't have new SIM cards. One of the 8 smoke jumpers sent to the fire was Tim Hart, a 6-year veteran of the West Yellowstone Jump Base. As hot winds radiated off the sun-baked desert floor, Tim was the 6th jumper out of the plane. About 200 feet above the ground, his canopy sped up, and according to one of the jumpers, came out of the air super fast, like he got caught up in a burble. Tim landed on the side of a drainage and rocks the size of garbage pails, according to the accident report. He was unconscious when his fellow jumpers ran to him, and it was more than 2 hours until he arrived by air ambulance at the hospital in El Paso, where he died from his injuries 9 days later. Now, approaching the 3rd anniversary of Tim's death, I spoke with his wife, Michelle Hart. We talked about Tim and about the challenges wildland firefighters and their families face. Michelle Hart, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Laura.
So I wanted to start with just who was Tim Hart? Who was he to you, to his family?
So Tim was my husband. We were married in 2019 and had a wonderful 1.5 years of marriage together before his accident. I get asked that question a lot about who he was as a person, and I honestly really struggle to define that because, like any person, I think sitting in my shoes, it's impossible to encapsulate who a person is in a few words. But he, as much as I could try, he was an amazing, amazing man. He loved his job, being a firefighter. It was his entire career. He put everything into it. He was extremely smart. He had a master's degree. I mean, he was extremely educated, but his passion for his job really drove a lot of what he did. He was really funny. He loved a good practical joke. He loved Halloween and dressing up for, theme parties and things like that. He didn't take life seriously, except for in his job, but he added so much color to my life and his friends' lives. And I mean, it's the little things, like the things, again, that are really difficult to describe, but just every day with him was a new journey. He just made me laugh all the time, and he was quiet until you got to know him. But then he had a lot to say. So he's an enigma of a person. I don't, and again, I know a lot of people would probably say this about someone who they love too, but there's just no one else like him in the world, and there will never be another one of him. And it is a huge loss to myself, his friends, his family, to his coworkers, that he's no longer here to bring that joy and that color to our lives.
Yeah. Well, thanks for talking about him that way. It's nice to feel like we can know a little bit who he was. While Tim was a wildland firefighter and a smoke jumper, I was wondering if you could talk about what challenges he faced, his colleagues faced, and that the family members of wildland firefighters face when they're deployed or when they come home even.
Oh, yeah, that is a really heavy question because there are a lot of things in that list. With my experience with Tim, and I still have a lot of friends that are in fire as well, and so these problems continue for them, I know, but from my perspective, it was extremely hard for me, having my partner be gone for 6, 7 months out of the year gone on assignment, not being able to talk to them, sometimes for weeks on end, constantly living in fear that something is going to happen. And unfortunately, that fear became a reality for me and for the people who loved him. But that's a reality also that a lot of other families face every single year. There are deaths every single year. The mental stress for the firefighter coming home in the off season, going from an adrenaline fueled summer season, watching close calls happen, destruction, havoc, and then trying to come back in the off season and be basically laid off, not having a lot to do, trying to recalibrate themselves into home life and reset with their families. That was really tough for Tim and I, both when he would leave, getting used to the fact that we're not together, but then also him coming home. And, I'm used to taking care of the house and making sure things are done. And now there's another person there. So it's a recalibration back into normal life. And then, the mental health is a really big piece of that, that I think is really not talked about enough. And obviously not our situation, but a lot of people have had close friends that have died from suicide in the community. And it's just a really big stressor for them. You also have medical conditions. Tim went through workers' comp multiple times with different injuries that he sustained, and navigating that process and rehabilitating yourself. He had an ATV rollover on a fire where he was in the hospital. He had a shoulder injury. The year before his accident, there were several other folks at his base in West Yellowstone that had serious life-threatening injuries from their job. And so just the physical toll, not to mention long-term, you worry about the smoke inhalation and the carcinogens. And I think there's just so much stress around all of that. And I haven't even touched on the financial piece. They don't make a lot of money. And for us, I worked as well, so that wasn't as big of a stressor for us. And I'm grateful that, my job helped us afford a place to live. But for a lot of families, that's not the case. And it can create an enormous stress financially, and a lot of concern there too. So I know I'm just kind of talking about all these things, but when you ask that question, there is just so much that goes into that answer. It's not one thing, it's multiple things that the spouses and the people who love the people in these jobs have to think about and worry about for their partners and for themselves. And, I know that grassroots wildland firefighters have done an amazing job of surveying partners. And, one of the statistics I find really interesting that they said is that around 50% of their respondents said that they have considered leaving their partner because of the stress of the job. That is a massive number of people who really are asking themselves, is this the life that I want to have? And what does that mean then for those people, the firefighters that are going out there, worrying also about their relationship?
Yeah, that same survey from grassroots wildland firefighters, that 2021 survey, the numbers are crazy. 77% surveyed experienced a near miss that could have killed them. 57% reported binge drinking in the past month. That's almost twice the national average. 78% have mental health issues directly caused or worsened by their work. And 23% tested positive for PTSD. It sounds like these numbers resonate with you and the people you know.
Absolutely. It's weird to see them on paper because it feels obvious, but then also terrifying when you see that really is the way that this community is, and that what they have to live through all of the time.
Yeah. So and we can not talk about this if you don't want to, but Tim died in 2021, but you have continued to still see bills pop up, and the U.S. Forest Service, as I understand, pays those bills. But what is it like for you 3 years later to still see these come in the mail to you?
Yeah, the entire process is extremely traumatic. I think naively, I thought that the bureaucratic part of it would wrap up pretty quickly, but it didn't. It dragged out for a long time. And, that's not necessarily the Forest Service, their fault. I mean, they were a wonderful partner in helping me make sure that things were getting paid and helping me as much as they could. But when you're dealing with a death of a federal employee, it just extends, the bureaucracy extends into multiple other agencies. And, some of that just takes a really long time to close out. And it was really hard, some of the things that I felt like were unnecessary. And again, it's all part of bureaucracy, but for instance, his life insurance, like I was getting letters from directly from a different agency about asking me to like submit records and articles and medical records about his death so that they could prove that it was a work accident, even though, he had been qualified as that. So just a lot of that felt really unnecessary to me. And it was very traumatic to be asked to send over the coroner's report and have to pull all of that information together myself. And then, the bills, and again, not the government's fault at all, but the hospital where he stayed, not sure what happened there, but I was getting medical bills for years afterwards. In fact, I think a month ago, I got another overdue bill from the hospital. And, since then, my caseworker has retired for the Forest Service. So honestly, I just sit it on my desk and I'm like, well, I guess they can try to take me to collections because, Tim doesn't have any credit or doesn't matter anymore. So I'll just let it sit there. But it is traumatic to come and see that, a bill for something to do with like a brain scanner or a neurologist, and, just putting myself back in that position of being down there with him and going through that is traumatic. And you just never know. Every time I open the mailbox, there's a fear that I'm going to see something else in there that's going to kind of bring me back. And so it's just something that you just never can get away from. And that is the hard part. I think the Forest Service does the best job that they can. I just think that the process itself does not make it easy for the people that are left behind.
Yeah. So in 2021, senators and representatives did introduce the Tim Hart Wildland Firefighter Classification and Pay Parity Act. Whatever happened with that?
Well, it is still sitting there on the books. It's been introduced the last few years. So, that bill, I think, really encompasses everything that firefighters really want to see. It covers everything from mental and physical health to pay parity to retirement, education, all of that. And so it's kind of a wish list of everything that they want. And we want to see all of those things come into fruition. What we have seen after the initial introduction of that is a lot more visibility on these issues. And so I think what this has done, even though it has not passed, and again, we still very much would like to see it pass, but it has brought to light a lot of these issues into DC and into our representative and senators' hands. And what it's allowed to is for them to come in and take bite-sized pieces out of it and repackage them into ways that, they like to see, or taking one piece out here and one piece out here, putting it in a different bill over here. And what we've seen is a lot of what was in Tim's Act is coming to fruition. There are changes to the physical health piece with presumptive care. We're seeing, we saw the incentives that were passed, the $20,000 increases that now we're trying to make permanent through the two bills that are out there right now, the Paycheck Protection Act. And there's a Retirement Fairness Act that's also coming out on temporary employees being able to buy into their retirement from their temporary years of service. And all of those things, those ideas originated in Tim's Act. And so although it as a whole package has not been promulgated, we are seeing significant improvements on certain pieces of those moving forward in their own ways. And we have a lot of work to do, but the wheels of the legislature grind slowly. And it's a fight that there are a lot of people that are in it for the long haul. And so I definitely see that, Tim is continuing to make a difference through bringing that level of awareness. And I'm so excited to see other people see these as good ideas that they can carry forward and really make lasting changes for people.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear that it is sort of parts are coming out in different ways. All of us across the nation rely on wildland firefighters, but I feel like we often don't see them. Like maybe we see them come in through our communities, people put the signs up and that sort of thing, but don't see them as individuals or people with families. What do you wish everyone knew and maybe could do better for our wildland firefighters?
I think it's a really good point that they're hidden figures. They're the hidden heroes of our country, and they don't ask for anything. They are the most selfless people. I think the thing that I would want everyone to hear about and to know and understand is if the struggles that we're talking about that they have there. And again, they don't talk about them. They don't complain about them. And so I think it's up to the public, the people who use their services, to be the ones to help advocate for them, to make sure that they're taken care of. This workforce is not unlike the military. They're defending our country. They die for our country. They give time away from their loved ones. They suffer for it. And it is imperative and is upon the American public to be grateful for that, understand it, and ask for reform. Ask for them to be treated like we do our military service members, like we do to our emergency responders, and ensure that they're protected and that they are given the benefits and ability to recuperate from being in these traumatic events. And we're asking them to do this for their entire career again and again. So I just think that we all need to educate ourselves better and ask questions to them, like, what is this like for you? And certainly if you know a wildland firefighter, please ask them how they're doing, especially in their time off, because I guarantee that they have seen some things and have been through a lot, and they really, I'm sure they could use somebody to talk to. And so I just encourage you to have those conversations.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I'm really sorry for your loss, and I appreciate what Tim did and all of his colleagues. And I appreciate you talking with us and, being an advocate for the people you care about. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Laura.
This isn't the first time we've covered the challenges wildland firefighters face or the solutions they seek. Visit nmpbs.org/ourland to see that past coverage.